This week on Adjusting, we are continuing our series of moving from fear to freedom, and we are taking a deeper dive into this topic. And today we're talking about what it actually means to live in uncertainty. What does it feel like to hold two truths at one time? And how does it feel in your body to say, I don't know yet? And be happy with that. To live in the gray and to find other possibilities and outcomes to a thing you were once certain of. So sit back, relax, and welcome to Adjusting. And we are back with another episode of Adjusting Podcast with your host, Justin G. Nelson. I think this might be my favorite episode. We're finally going to dive deeper into what it means to live in the gray. So this episode is Adjusting to Uncertainty, Learning to Live in the Gray. Thank you to everyone who watches consistently. It is hard. It is hard work to be consistent with a podcast, and I have to really give myself grace because I'm juggling a lot. But I pray that after this week, I can really get more postings done and everything like that, and get back to my adjusting affirmations. But first, thank you to TJ with Tea with TJ podcast for editing, and thank you again to my listeners. Be sure to subscribe to my Substack and my YouTube. Like, I really need those numbers, y'all, because I want to pitch the podcast to some people, and I also want to use it for my grad school entrance next fall. So I need to get my numbers up. Okay, great. So, without further ado, we're going to ground ourselves in this episode. If you're driving, focus on the road. If you have a second to sneak away and just ground yourself for 30 seconds, that's enough to reset your nervous system. I was so happy. I forgot where I was. I was listening to something, and they mentioned the 478 breathing. I think it was a show. I think I was watching a show, and they mentioned. I was like, yes, we're doing the work. So we're going to do that now. Ground your feet, relax your ankles, relax your shins, relax your knees, relax your thighs, relax your hips, relax your stomach, relax your chest, relax your shoulders, roll them back, relax your neck, relax your cheeks, your forehead, and close your eyes. We're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and release for 8. So breathe in. 2, 3, 4, hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let it all out. Woo. Great. Now, one last inhale in and out just to release anything else that might be blocking you from receiving this goodness, okay? Deep breath in and out. All right. This episode. So we're in the second part of this series, or this season. We talked about cognitive distortions, the first 12 episodes, all or nothing thinking, catastrophizing, all of those. And then this part is adjusting your from failure to fear. Like, what is it? Adjusting from fear to freedom. Sorry. And like, what does it actually mean? Or what if things actually turned out right? Because we're so quick and wired to live in fear and the what if it goes wrong instead of the what if it goes right, okay? But in that what if moment, that to me is where magic happens, where conversations start, where community is built, where discovery happens, where healing happens, where we are able to pinpoint certain things. The saying, there is more than one way to skin a cat. I don't know why anyone would skin a cat, but there are more than one ways to get to D, because like in math, we have the old school equation for formulas, where you have your number the times, and then you do the first column, move over to the second column. Now the kids, I'd have to identify, visually see the hundreds, see the tens, and see the fives. And I was just like, okay, that's a process. I still like my process. So what does living in the gray actually means? Living in the gray means to live in the discomfort, to live in the uneasy, the uncertainty, in the space between knowing and not knowing. It means resisting the urge to force every situation into a clean, clear, routine, itemized situation. Okay? It's just like it's like going to Target when we used to go to Target to get something, and you just like, I came in for one thing, but I'm going to discover a lot of other stuff that I didn't know I needed, but I need it, and now I have it. I was like, I'm glad I went to Target. Okay. Most of us are wired for certainty. Okay. I don't know if it's capitalism. I don't know if it's survival. Like, we have to be certain of the next thing so that we don't make a wrong mistake, not knowing that sometimes that very turn we took could get us closer to where it is we really want to be. But because we've seen other people do X, Y, and Z, we think X, Y, and Z is great, not knowing what is under their X, what is under their Y. Their Z might be smaller than your Z. All right. So we have to live in the uncertainty. But here's the thing. Most of our lives live in gray. Most relationships are complicated. Okay. Most seasons of growth are confusing. Most healing journeys are non-linear. A lot of people go to therapy and get upset because they feel like they don't know what they're doing. No, baby, you got some walls. Okay. We talked about this last week. You got some major walls that are up. So the therapist has to spend time making you comfortable. Okay, we're helping you soothe your nervous system. HIPAA. Okay, you listen. Whenever I go to therapy, I say HIPAA. I say HIPAA, and then I tell them something, because if they mention this something, they can lose their license. Okay, so and if you're waiting for everything to feel certain before you move forward, you're going to be waiting there for a very long time. Okay, and I always say, take the leap. Take the leap. God will catch you. Okay. That leap could be, you think it's a huge leap. God is like, it's a skip. But because you are living in your head or living based on someone else's reality, you are afraid to take the leap. So how black and white thinking keeps us stuck? All or nothing thinking. We're going back to that, but we're going to build on that. So we covered all or nothing thinking earlier. I think that was episode 1 of this season. And this black and white thinking is a close cousin. So black and white thinking says things are either good or bad, safe or dangerous, working or failing. There is no middle ground. It doesn't exist. Okay? No. No is this is complicated. No, I need more time to figure it out. And the problem is that when you live in black and white, you miss almost everything. You miss a relationship that's actually healthy because it wasn't filled with like dramatic tendencies, and it didn't come with this certain grandeur of drama, like the baggage and stuff. You miss the opportunity that's actually right for you because it doesn't look exactly like what you imagined. Like, I know we have a picture of how we want things to look, but we really don't, we can't control that, because here's what I've gathered. Okay, notes aside, what I've gathered is a lot of people have this perception of what it is they want based on sometimes I'm making this up as I go. Sometimes trauma develops a picture of what it is we want, because in our head we think we can handle that. Speaking for cancers, we want someone, we say we want someone who is emotionally stable. We attract people who are emotionally damaged or unstable, and it becomes a project or a task or something that we feel we can help adjust or fix because we are motherly. Okay. And then but we in our head, we say we want this, but we actually attract this. The things we want, we are then the things we say we want, okay? We are not equipped to handle because we are so used to we are so used to holding space for things that are broken. Wow. Okay. We're used to holding space for things that are broken because that is the norm. But when we say we want this, we want A, how can we handle A when we've been preparing for B the entire time? We've only attracted B. Okay, so it goes back. Sorry, it goes back to this. You miss the healing that's actually happening because it doesn't feel as dramatic and the breaking does. Black and white thinking also makes you incredibly hard on yourself. You're not fully healed, you're broken, you're not fully successful, you're failing, you're not completely sure. You must be making wrong decision. It leaves no room for the beautiful, messy, important middle. Okay, I'm going back to my analogy. I just wanted to finish that. So with A is the gray. Okay, A is the gray. A is the discomfort. It's the newness of something that is actually good, actually right. Because you don't know, because you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, and that person, that thing, that career, that job, it's just like, no, you're fine. And you're just like, okay, because I'm fine now, I can find, this is it. I can find more tools and practices and questions and things to actually understand where I am now and how to deal with deal with the gray, deal with this new, healed, healthy version of me. I'm proud. That makes sense. So, how does this show up? How does the black and white thinking show up? So, in relationships, you can't decide if someone's right for you because they're not perfect, but they're also not terrible. And the gray of this is good and also complicated feels unbearable. So you either idolize them or you leave them, black or white. You don't make time to get to know them. And I think that's across the board, even in friendships. Like one wrong thing canceled. I'm protecting my peace. I ain't got time for this. Life is too short. Yeah, but like even in that shortness, there's the beauty of curiosity, exploring highs and lows. Like that is what makes you stronger, more equipped, more prepared, you know? You struggle to hold, I love this person, and this dynamic isn't always healthy at the same time. In creative work, you don't put the thing out because it's not finished, but finished never comes because perfect is a moving target. Or you get a piece of negative feedback and suddenly the entire project is worthless. Case in point, okay? I was at church, and church people can be some of the messiest people ever, okay? This one lady came in and she started complaining about the decoration. And I was just like, black or white. There is no, she had, why we don't have it? I ain't got it. And I was just like, man, you see one thing wrong, and now you want to say everything is a mess. Who hurt you, boo? Like, anyway, you get one piece, like I said, you get one piece of negative feedback, and suddenly the entire project is worthless. The whole Sunday is ruined. The gray of this is good work that not everyone would love is too uncomfortable for you to sit in. The gray at church is I didn't do one small thing, but I know everyone is going to love everything regardless, except for this one small thing. But it's just like you will never please everyone. I think that's a huge thing to take away. You can't please everybody. Trust me. Trust either you can use this paper too white, this paper too dark, this font is too wrong. You should have did this here. You should have put this here. Why are you using it? And I'm just like, where were you when we were designing stuff? Well, in the planning, the brainstorming got involved. You weren't because you don't do this, but you have an opinion about it. Anyway, in your healing journey, you're doing the work, you're growing, and then one hard day hits, and suddenly you're convinced you haven't made any progress. Same with the gym, okay? You have one cheat day, and you automatically assume you done gained 20 pounds, and you'll never get a six-pack, and you'll never be in shape, okay? You can't hold, I've come this far, and still have more to go at the same time. It's all or nothing. Healed or broken, fine or falling apart. All right. And then in daily decisions, you agonize over chaos and choices, big and small, because making the wrong one feels catastrophic. You ask everybody else for their opinion. You research endlessly. Okay. You want feedback on this. You want feedback on that. You want another look at this. And you delay and you delay and you delay because certainty never quite arrives and uncertainty feels like danger. Why do we crave certainty? Certainty is comfort. Okay? When you know what's coming, you can prepare. Makes sense. That makes sense. Okay? When you can predict the outcome, you can protect yourself. All right? And if you grew up in an environment that was chaotic, unstable, unpredictable, and unsafe, your nervous system learned that uncertainty equals danger. I've said this in every episode. So it developed a very strong drive to resolve, conclude, and know quickly as possible. But, the cost of that drive is enormous. It costs you presence. Okay, it costs you presence because you you rob yourself. You certainty robs you of being in the moment because you're too busy trying to predict the outcome. Yeah. It costs you presence because you're always trying to fast forward to the answer instead of being in the moment. It costs you curiosity because curiosity means you have to be okay with not knowing. It costs you growth because growth almost always happens in the in between. In the season where you don't know where you are or where you're going, and it costs you peace. I don't think we think about that enough. Like the weight of certainty and how it adds unnecessary and additional stress of having everything being certain. Like there's one thing to have proof or receipt or like, okay, so for instance, you're waiting on a shipment to come. You get a tracking number. Okay, that gives you some peace knowing, okay, it's coming Tuesday. But then there's a window and you're like stressed because now you have to inconvenience your whole day between 2 and 7 trying to wait for the package. That is kind of what certainty does. It robs you of time. Okay. It robs you of being able to do other things, you know? I never thought about that. Wow. Okay. And so for a spiritual add-on, so many of us were handed a version of faith that made uncertainty feel like a lack of trust in God. If you were really faithful, you would have peace. If you really surrendered, you would know the answer. And that theology, as well-meaning as it is, was created or has created a generation of people who were afraid of their own doubt. You couldn't say, I don't know, okay, without feeling like you were failing spiritually. But Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says to trust in the Lord with your whole heart and lean not to your own understanding. Now, this is not me spiritual bypassing, okay? This is me just telling you what the Bible says and how, in a way, we have to not use, like it's in the Bible, the season of uncertainty, like trust in God and lean not to your own understanding. Like that in itself is a sign of trust. And I think we've missed something in that verse. It's not saying you'll always have understanding. It's saying lean on trust, okay? When the understanding isn't there yet. Uncertainty was never the enemy of faith. It was always the invitation to practice it. You can send your tithes and offerings to Adjusting Podcast. Thank you. So, How to notice when you're demanding certainty. So the first step is just become aware of when certainty seeking is running the show, because that thing's sneaky. Okay, it disguises itself as being responsible. It disguises itself as, being a perfectionist and being thorough and being careful, type A personality. But there's a difference between due diligence and anxiety in a trench coat. Okay, here are the signs. You are asking the same question to multiple people, hoping one of them will give the answer that feels closer to what you're feeling, and that feeling of certain. Okay, you are googling the same thing. You on ChatGPT asking the same thing in different ways. Okay, you have different chats and prompts to get to an answer, looking for the same thing over and over and over again, looking for reassurance that doesn't come. You're lying awake at night, replaying the same conversations, trying to think of another way to get to something that feels more certain. Okay, you're staying in something you've already outgrown, because leaving would mean stepping into the unknown. Can I get a witness? Any of that sound familiar? So when you catch yourself in certainty seeking mode, the answer is just to name it. I am trying to control the outcome. Basically, I can't control this right now. That's it, not fix it, nothing. You just have to name it. And I think naming it is one of the most powerful things you can do, because again, it goes back to something we talked about earlier in the whole podcast. The naming it gives it life, gives it something. You can put it in a box. You can come back to it when you have time to deal with it. Expanding your tolerance for the unknown. Tolerance for uncertainty is a skill, which means it can be built. Okay? Which means you are not just this way forever. You are this way until you practice something different, until you build enough reps, until you build enough understanding, until you've explored enough to then shift to something else. Start small. Deliberately leave small things unresolved. Order something different at a restaurant without researching the menu first. Take a different route home, okay? Make low stakes decisions without polling your group chat. You don't have to get approval from everybody. You are teaching your nervous system that unknown does not automatically equal dangerous. And then practice the pause. When you pause, you go to the restaurant, you order that meal, and the meal comes, pause and say, I am really doing something big, okay? Okay, I am making new discoveries. I am trying new things, okay? And then also, when the urge to force a conclusion comes up, try sitting with the question for just a little longer before reaching for an answer. Even 5 minutes of tolerating, I don't know yet, is a rep. And like any muscle, the more reps you do, the stronger you get. Reframe the unknown. Instead of, I don't know, and that's terrifying, try, I don't know yet, and that means the story isn't finished. Okay? It's a draft. I don't know yet, but let me get back to you. I don't know yet. I want to sit with this some more. I want to wrestle with this some more. The gray isn't a dead end. It's a space where things are still forming, and some of the best things take time. I talked about this on Earthy and Cultured, how I was making cornbread for New Year's one year, and the Jiffy Box said, mix everything together and then let it rest. You got to let the batter rest. And a lot of us try to rush into things without pausing, without waiting, ruminating, letting things like the chips fall before we move forward. We're ready to run through stuff. And I get it, times are hard. We're trying to just keep up and keep it moving, but sometimes you got to slow down, or your body will make you slow down, okay? So at the root of all certainty seeking is a trust issue. I am not calling anybody out. I have trust issues too. Sorry. But not necessarily a character flaw, but a wound, a place where life taught you that you couldn't trust the process, you couldn't trust people, okay? You couldn't trust yourself to make the right call. And that And so you started trying to control every variable to avoid being blindsided again. But here's what I want you to sit with. Trust is not the absence of uncertainty. Trust is a decision to keep moving even when certainty isn't available. Okay? It's saying, I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but I trust myself to handle it when it does. There's a quote that says, "You've won 100% of your worst days because you're still here." Okay, that's trust, that's faith, that's you persevering. So we're going to keep pushing. That is freedom. Okay, that is what living in the gray actually looks like when you're doing it from a place of a healed place. Okay, perfect. Now, here are 5 things. Sorry, my nose is itching. 5 things to consider as you learn to live in the gray. You ready? Get your notebooks. I'm working on the freedom journals for us. But number 1, consider that "I don't know yet" is a complete sentence. Okay, we got "know" is a complete sentence. "I don't know yet" is a complete sentence. And if something pushes you to when will you will know when I know. Okay, let me sit with it. Let me live in the gray a little more and see where God leads me, the universe. See what my ancestors pull out. See what experiences happen around that I don't know yet that leads me to what I know now. Okay? You don't owe anyone a damn thing. Okay? Especially a premature answer. One of the most powerful things you can practice is sitting with a question without forcing a resolution. Not every situation needs to be categorized right now. Not every relationship needs to label within a week. Not every decision needs to be made before you actually had time to fill it out. "I don't know yet" is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is you prioritizing the outcome that is a healthy one and not a rushed conclusion just to be done. Okay? The next time someone, including your anxious brain, pushes you for an answer you don't know yet, just try to say it out loud. "I don't know yet." Say it like that. I don't know yet. And notice how the person responds and notice how your body feels. Second thing, consider what certainty actually cost you. Okay? I want you to think about a time you forced a conclusion because uncertainty was too comfortable. A relationship you ended prematurely, a decision you rushed because sitting with it was unbearable, an opportunity you passed on because you couldn't guarantee the outcome. What did demanding certainty cost you in that moment? I'm pretty sure they could have waited another day and you could have sat with it. I know I've almost passed up on opportunities simply because my nervous system said no, no, like you don't have time for that. I was like, but I can make time. I can make time for it. I'm not asking you to beat yourself up. Okay. I'm asking because when we can see the real cost of certainty seeking, we become a lot more willing to practice something different. Number 3, consider that growth almost never feels certain while it's happening. Okay. You had a growth spurt and you didn't even know it. Okay. You were asleep, you went to sleep, you woke up taller. Boom. You didn't know it. Okay. Same with healing. Like sometimes you don't even know it until it happens. You don't realize how much you've grown until a situation comes up and you're just like, damn, I handled it a lot better than I thought. Every single version of you that you're proud of today was built in a season that felt confusing while you were in it. The healing you're most grateful for happened in a period that felt uncertain and uncomfortable and like nothing was working. That's just what growth feels like from the inside. It doesn't feel like progress, it feels like the gray. It feels like the gray. So when you're in a season that feels murky and unresolved and like you can't quite see what's ahead, that might not be a sign that something is wrong. That might be a sign that something is forming. Okay? Let me say that again. When you're in a season where things feel murky and ugly and nasty, okay, that might not be a season where things are wrong. That means that there could be a season that things are actually working. Boom. Stay in it a little while longer before you decide it's not working. Number 4, consider the difference between a decision and a conclusion. You listening? Not everything in your life needs to be concluded, But some things do need to be decided. All right. And part of living in the gray is learning to tell the difference. A decision is, I'm going to take this step by step and see what happens. A conclusion, I know exactly how this is going to turn out. You can make a decision without having a conclusion. Okay. You can move forward without having certainty about the destination. Most of the best moves you'll ever make are going to require you to decide before you can conclude. Practice making decisions from your values and intuitions rather than from the need to already know the answer. And number 5, consider that the gray is where intimacy actually lives. Okay? This is different. It's different, but every deep relationship in your life exists in the gray. Real love is not certain. Real friendships are not guaranteed. Real creative work is unpredictable. The things that matter most to us are the things that cannot be controlled or concluded. They can only be experienced. And when you demand certainty from them, you actually push them away. Okay? You can't be fully present in a relationship you're constantly trying to predict. Okay? You can't create freely when you need to know the outcome before you begin. You can't say, I'm gonna write this book and already concluded that in your head it's gonna be a New York Times bestseller, so you're putting the extra weight and pressure on you. Just write the book. Just write the book. The gray is not the enemy of connection and creativity. It is the condition of it. Told you, y'all, this is my favorite episode. So here's what I want you to take with you this week. The gray is not a problem to be solved. It is a space to be lived in. And the more you practice tolerating uncertainty in small ways, in everyday moments, the more your nervous system learns that unknown does not mean unsafe. You don't have to have it all figured out to move forward. You don't have to know the ending to begin the next chapter. You don't have to resolve every question to live in a full, meaningful, and beautiful life. In fact, some of the best things that are coming for you are going to arrive in a form you couldn't have predicted. Okay? So go back, listen to this episode again, because I explained a lot. And I want you to really sit with those 5 things. Until next time, keep adjusting. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you take something away to help you make the adjustments you need. Before you go, please take a quick second to share this with someone you care about. And if you can, please leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. For more information about adjusting or to inquire about being a guest, head over to adjustingpod.com. Until next time.